As part of the community-based research in sociology capstone, students are required to examine a social injustice in the St. Louis community. Our team, comprised of team leader Derek Bronner, Jim Kirby, Ethan Payer, Anthony Brown, and Robert Mason, chose to examine the issue of panhandling in the Central West End in the St. Louis city, as well as surrounding legal typologies that have existed and been developed.
Today we're at the cusp of the Central West End District to investigate the sociological phenomena of panhandling and all of its related subject matter, including government agencies, the legislation surrounding panhandling, non-for-profit, and other agencies that are involved with this issue. So let us see where this investigation takes us.
First interview was with Jim White, Executive Director of the Neighborhood Security Initiative.
The Neighborhood Watch was started in 2007. We are a blanket organization for 6 special taxing districts. The commissioners of each of those taxing districts felt it was important to create a central office to oversee and manage some of the safety and security initiatives. We also act as a liaison with the local police department. We look at crime trends, we look at crime reports to help and assist the police department in developing ways to reduce crime. Panhandling is one of those issues that we put into the category of quality of life. This neighborhood has a lot of shops and restaurants that attract people into the area. Those that engage in panhandling know that they can come down here, and there's a lot of caring and compassionate people as well. The police cannot solve this problem by themselves. The courts are not equipped to handle these problems. And there's a huge disconnect between that enforcement and social services. And panhandling gives a criminal element an excuse to be in a particular area. Right? A lot of our panhandlers have criminal records. Panhandling is just something else they do. Right.
In order to further understand the origins and intentions of this bill and subsequent ordinance, we spoke with Lyda Cruson, Alderwoman of the 28th Ward, which encompasses most of the Central West End in St. Louis.
I have taken on a number of citywide issues. Not all aldermen do that. So it didn't have to do with getting a complaint. As I'm exploring this, you look at best practices around the country. What real change really came out of that, the program, which is the education program. And I think really, if I would have just passed the ordinance, pretty much nothing would have changed.
We interviewed Eddie Roth, the recently appointed Director of Human Services with the city. He afforded us an interview to discuss the humanitarian and civil aspects of this issue.
My exposure to public and community interest in panhandling is not limited to business owners who are concerned that panhandling, especially aggressive panhandling, would make business districts less conducive to consumers coming and using their business. I'm not saying that's not a concern, but I think it's just one of many. I think there's broad community concern about panhandling from the standpoint of people who are experiencing hardship and feel as though they need to panhandle in order to sustain themselves. That panhandling is a function of behavioral and substance use problems, mental health problems, underemployment and unemployment problems. And many people view panhandling as not a very efficient or effective way to get at those. I think other people look at the issue as free to move about themselves without being stopped by someone who's panhandling, and the legislation that I'm most familiar with addresses what's referred to as aggressive panhandling, and it's an abrupt and unwarranted interruption or approaching them and having them in circumstances where they fear for their safety, and I think that those are legitimate concerns. I also know that there are legitimate concerns about the prevalence of panhandlers on public roadways and especially highway exits. We have a long tradition of soliciting donations by way of our public rights of way and First Amendment considerations. People have the right to express themselves, including by asking people for things.
In an effort to pursue the humanitarian and social justice aspects of this issue, The team sought out interviews with leaders of various social outreach programs, the first being Adrienne Fly, Food Ministry Coordinator at Trinity.
Very rarely will one of those clients ask one of us, one of the volunteers or staff of the food ministry, for funds. There are a couple of people who come onto the church grounds and will come in during pantry, but actually are not clients of the pantry, who will panhandle folks. We will not give out money, because if it becomes known as a place where money is given out, then some of the more aggressive panhandlers may get fairly aggressive with people on the church grounds, and some of our folks are quite vulnerable. But we have a couple, as I say, there are a couple of folks, and one of them was here last night. There were a couple of meetings going on in the building, and that person came into one and then was kind of roaming around in the building, wanting money. I don't see it as a massive problem at this end of Euclid, frankly. Certainly there are some.
At this point, the team's research suggested a relationship between mental health and addiction issues and panhandling. We interviewed Anjanette Smith, a volunteer facilitator for family groups at the National Association for Mental Illness.
NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. My focus is here in the city, giving education and support to families. I'm very interested in the crisis intervention team because just from my experience and also some of my training with NAMI, my main concern is homelessness and persons with mental illness. It's a program in which officers are introduced to perhaps symptoms of mental illness, recognizing psychosis, and how to de-escalate a situation. Also, to be able to bring in other resources when it comes to an undiagnosed mental illness or even a diagnosed mental illness without consistent medication. There's the possibility of relapse. Mental illness, it can impair insight as well as rational thinking as well as understanding. We take it for granted. Again, when insight and rational thinking are impaired, the person may not even be in a situation to understand. Who is looking for assistance, there's that obstacle of going to the places where that person can get help. It's a difficult situation, especially if there's an impairment.
The team conducted interviews with Central West End businesses to see what type of economic impact panhandling was really having. The first is with the manager of the Left Bank Books bookstore.
To be honest, as a person who shops in the Central West End, in addition to working here, and it's present, but I don't think it really is at all dangerous in this area. And it's because we do the things like pay the extra 1% sales tax, and so that really creates a very safe environment. The regular police officers who patrol this area and kind of get to know them a little bit.
Sure.
And the way that they usually deal with nuisance issues like that is, they're people who really, in some ways, develop relationships.
The following is an excerpt from an interview with a local business owner here in the Central West End.
We have a decent amount of people that come in and ask for food or just to ask if they can warm something up, which is actually against health codes. We'll try to get stuff from our guests, tell them that they're not allowed to talk to our guests and that if they're dining with us, then that's okay. But unfortunately, they would have to leave if they don't plan on dining with us. Normally in the summer, spring, fall, whenever it's at least a little bit warmer out and when there's more people around, they have more people to ask. Not everything gets documented with management. Some people are very open to giving money to panhandlers. They go ahead and do it and we don't see it.
The Real Change program originated around the same time as the 2007 panhandling bill. Our team sought to investigate the amount of resources that Real Change was generating in the community, as well as how they allocated these resources.
Here at 625 North Euclid to get an interview from Real Change. Here we are at Suite 200 of 625 North Euclid.
Finding faults in the Real Change program, our team met with members of the Central West End Association to discuss the status of Real Change.
Hello, my name is Amanda Dever. I am the Operation Coordinator with the Central West.
My name is Anna Cardo. I'm on the Board of Directors of the Central West End Association.
Hi, my name is Caroline Compton. I currently work at the Central West End Neighborhood Security Initiative as a neighborhood court advocate for both the Central West End and Forest Park Southeast neighborhoods.
From my understanding, the Real Change program was started in 2008, and it was coupled with the aggressive panhandling ordinance that was introduced at the same time. The Real Change program was sponsored by the Central West End Association. It was ultimately a way that folks, residents of the Central West End, business owners, and also tourists of the Central West End could donate their spare change to a parking meter, would then be given to a local agency that supports some sort of initiative to help folks who are living with homelessness. It went to Trinity Episcopal Church. We're looking to revamp that program. I was really excited to work with the Real Change program. My background is in community development and social justice, so this was a program that was really exciting to me. And what we've seen is that the program has really changed since 2008. It's changed hands a couple of different times. We've seen a lot of folks that have previously worked on the program that are actually no longer with our board. I would say it's lost momentum. Reinvigorate that interest. Also, we're still trying to figure out sort of the origins of the program. Like, what was the ultimate goal around it?
Really a very vibrant residential community and a vibrant business community. Raising the level of communications so the residents know that there is an opportunity to be able to help people when they're approached.
In terms of aggressive panhandling, it's a difficult situation. We want our businesses to thrive and we want them to be successful. It's essential for all of us to be here for that to go on, and we enjoy it.
Perhaps the most important perspective on this issue is that of a panhandler. Our team met with TJ to discuss his views.
Derogatory about putting nobody down or pass judgment on nobody, but a lot of those things you can actually see. You know, when you're dealing with somebody that's homeless, like myself, you could look at me and tell that I'm not no alcoholic, I'm not no drug addict. You know what I'm saying? I'm homeless. I don't know if drinking is the problem why they're homeless. You know what I'm saying? I don't pass judgment on them. America is coming to be a very bad place where you can't go out and get help. Even in the Bible it says, ask and you shall receive. You know what I'm saying? When you can't do the stuff that God say you can do, and that becomes bad, then the world is getting corrupt.